Roll call. Nick Brassel.
Present.
Richard Chapman.
Present.
Mr. Cleophas Rucker.
Present.
And Ms. Kim Stagg.
Present.
Thank you. As a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, the governor issued Executive Order number 16, extended by Executive Order number 71, authorizing committees to meet and conduct their essential business by electronic means if the committee determines that meeting electronically is necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans in light of the COVID-19 outbreak. If you do agree with this statement, that this is a necessary meeting to protect the health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans in light of the COVID-19 outbreak, please say yes as I call your name. Nick Brassel.
Yes.
Cleophas Rucker.
Yes.
Richard Chapman.
Yes.
And Kim Stagg.
Yes.
Thank you all. I have pulled up a review of the final draft of the Study and Formulating Committee final report. I did email 2 copies of this out, one being the first copy that did have the actuaries' information behind each item that it coincided with the edits from legal that I did send out yesterday and are in red here on this revised. Those letters from Finley, the actuarial letters, will also be placed behind their coinciding area or issue in this report. It's just when we revised it in the Word document versus the PDF, those Finley actuarial reports are not in that. But when you do get the final report, when it is distributed for a DocuSign sign-off from all the committee members, you will see it in its entirety as it will go to the benefit board. So I just wanted to make that point. So as you see, I hope everyone's had a chance to review the final report and the final report with the edits made by legal. I have included the bios that you all have approved. I've given a narrative that is consistent with narratives of prior Study and Formulating Committee reports, but also highlights the nuances and challenges that you all have faced through COVID and the pandemic. The items within the report are the exact language and items that you have previously approved. We are not modifying those as this accurately reflects the committee's actions. We've included support documents related to those actions as part of the addendum. First of all, I would like to ask if everyone has seen the edits made by legal, and then if anyone else has any other edits they would like to make on this, and I will turn it over to our chair, Rucker, and then we will go through the report and see if anyone has any comments or edits in addition to the ones that legal has provided us. So thank you all for being here. And Chair Rucker, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Hickey. I have reviewed the report and I have no recommended changes. I will now open it up to the other committee members to see if they have any questions, comments, or any other thoughts on the final report that has been provided to us. I'll start with Mr. Brassel. Mr. Brassel, have you had a chance to review the document and any thoughts you may have on this?
I reviewed it last night and it all looks fine to me.
Great, thank you. Mr. Chapman?
I have only one question. I can't see page 10 right now, but on page 10, there's a label for emergency communications. Let's make sure that actually says emergency communications. Bottom of page 10.
Yes, where it says Department of Emergency. You would like that
it should say communications there. I'm sorry, I looked at this again right before we started and I caught that.
No, that's certainly okay. Thank you. Am I on the right? Can you see my screen? Am I on the right page that you were referring to, Mr. Chapman?
No.
Okay.
Need to go to the next page.
Okay, thank
Page
you.
11.
Okay, thank you. Let me figure out first how to move the participants off my screen so I can get down a little further.
See where it says Department of Emergency? right there at the top of the page.
Up here where it says examine and make recommendations regarding Department of Emergency Communications.
It says above that, a label.
Oh, Department of Emergency, yes, correct.
If you'll add the word communications there, that's the only thing that
Yes. Thank you for that catch, Mr. Chapman.
other than that, I was fine with everything.
Ms. Hickey, you need the same thing in the recommendation part on that page.
No, it's there. Oh, no.
No, this one, I see what she's speaking to.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you. Thank you both.
You're welcome.
Does the committee members have any other recommendations for the final report?
I have one.
Go ahead, Ms. Staff.
Given the issues we've tackled with the pandemic, I would suggest that somewhere here we acknowledge the work of people like Ms. Hickey and Ms. Hall and the others at Metro Nashville who have gotten us through all of the administrative difficulties related to having this committee operate in the pandemic. So if we might add something, you have us at the bottom, thanking Mayor Cooper and Metro Council. I just want to make clear, I think as a committee member, and I suspect others on this committee share my thought, we can't thank Ms. Hickey and Ms. Hall and others involved in this process enough to get us through this year.
I appreciate that. Would you like me, what language would you like me to include? It says the committee appreciates the opportunity to serve the employees, pensioners, and community through this appointment. Would you like me to add something to that sentence or maybe a sentence after that one? Or we wish to thank Mayor Cooper and the Metro Council for this opportunity.
Yeah, I think it might be appropriate on page 3, in the second full paragraph. Despite these many challenges, the committee did formulate well thought out and educated recommendations. We might say something akin to the committee very much appreciates the efforts of the many staff members who assisted in the committee's work in that regard.
Would it bother you if we said the staff of Metro Human Resource Office or whatever the formal name of the group is?
I think that's great.
And could you repeat that, Mr. Chapman?
The staff, wait a minute, the efforts of the staff of the Metro Human Resource Office or whatever, I want you to use the right name.
Yes, no, that's correct.
Yeah. That way we identify who it was.
Yeah.
And
you can call them out by name and particularly include yourself, Ms. Hickey.
This feels awkward. Okay. Okay. So the committee very much appreciates the efforts of the staff of the Metro Human Resources Office.
Who supported our activities. Does that sound okay?
I think that's great.
Christina, may I offer a suggestion here just to make this clean?
Yes, you may.
Chapman's request. This is Shannon Hall. Would you say of the staff of, take out the staff of Metro Human Resources, take out office? Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you for the recommendation, Ms. Staggs and Mr. Chapman. I think that, yes, we would not have been able to do the work of the committee without just the work that, Metro's Human Resources Department has done, and the work that you really have attributed to at great lengths to make this happen while we all were remote. So we thank you for this.
And this is Christina Hickey. In that same respect, I would like to thank the whole committee too as well for your willingness and flexibility in making this committee work in a virtual environment. It made it much easier for our staff.
So are there any other questions or comments by anyone besides the committee members? I know we have a lot of other individuals on this call. Okay, great. I see there's several hands. I'll start with Mr. Rayson.
Good afternoon, Brad Rayson, SEIU, Local 205. First, I'd like to commend everybody on the committee for your work and dedication to this process. I did have just one point on page 9 of the report, just for clarification. The reference to expected results, I know this recommendation to change the code did not include any specific plan design changes, and just wanted to be clear sort of what is the purpose of including those expected results in the report. I know in the earlier presentations, they were included as possible cost savings if certain things happen, but I know all of the discussion that you have had were around the ordinance change and not any proposed plan design changes. So if these are merely examples of possible cost savings versus expected results.
This is Nick Brazel. I think that these are items that I had specifically requested for a previous meeting. I was just trying to gauge what kind of impact these changes might have while we were having the discussion. I have no issue with just removing this from the report. I don't think it needs to be included.
Mr. Brazel, that was my recollection too, is that you were just trying to get your hands around what the implications were.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to remove that, I'm totally fine with that. I don't really think it's relevant.
Mr. Brazel, would this be removing the moving to a 3-tier and the removal of moving to a 4-tier?
Well, that and even the out-of-pocket maximum too. I mean, all we did really was just adjust the language in the code. We didn't take any action really specifically to recommending a change to the out-of-pocket maximum or really specifically with the out-of-pocket maximum. We just removed that language, and I wasn't really sure where the discussion was going at the time, so that's why I requested this information, just try and wrap my head around it. So I think in the scope of what the recommendation ended up being, it's not necessary.
I have a question for Ms. Ecke.
Stop.
Are we required in this report to put the actuarial accounting information in it to support the recommendations, or I think that's my first question.
Sure. For specific recommendations, yes, the actuarial information is needed because actuarial information was required in order for the committee to have the full information to make specific recommendations. So for the specific recommendations, yes. But for
if that's the case, go ahead.
Oh, in this particular situation, the recommendation, as indicated, was to remove the specific language in the code. One possibility is to change the title. Instead of expected results, will be something like potential cost savings or something like that. That shows it's just an estimate. If these particular plan designs are adopted in the future, because for the PPO plan, the committee did not adopt any specific future plan design.
Nikki, is that a recommendation for just this page on page 9?
Yes, for page 9.
Okay. Is the committee okay with that recommendation to change expected results to potential cost savings?
I think so. I think it appropriately captures, and just speaking for myself, I think it appropriately captures what we viewed that information as. And I would be glad to hear what the other members think.
This is Dick Chapman, and I agree with changing the label. And I'd also like to say that the times that we have reviewed the chart that had the summary recommendations on it, this material was included in at least the last 2 iterations about potentials for plan design changes. And citing examples, you know, the benefit board's the one who's going to act on any of these particular proposals or any proposals at all, particularly if the change to the code is made.
I do see several other hands raised. Director of Finance, Mr. Kevin Crumbo, you are recognized.
I believe the Director of Finance is muted.
Am I unmuted now?
You're on mute. You're muted now. You're no longer muted.
No longer muted. Great. Thank you. I know that sometimes that's a toggle back and forth either here on the controls, but in any event, I wanted to commend the committee here, not just on the content of the report that you're finalizing, but really on the way that you have come about this. I'm in my 16th month here at the Metro government and have had to become a very quick study of Metro processes in that period of time. And if you look around the Metro government, we have a fair number of boards and commissions and committees for things, and some of those need a very heavy administrative hand and by design are set up to be led primarily by the administration or perhaps the Metro Council, and others like this one really are set up not to do that. And what's incumbent upon me, and I think others that are at the administration, is to resist the temptation to become overly involved and let those of you who are bringing voices and expertise to this really bring it forward. And this is truly one of the best efforts I've seen of committees coming together, of folks who have not worked together before, at least that I'm aware of, and really gelling and bringing together something that's going to impact a tremendous number of people, thousands of people with big money for a long time to come. So I thank you for working so independently. For those of you, one in particular, and you know who you are, that I've resisted the temptation to call here these last several months. I will look forward to your work coming to close and getting a little post game from you. But thank you for this on behalf of the administration, the government overall, the Employee Benefits Committee, and just thank you for your service all around.
Thank you, Director Crumbo. I see Mark Young has his hand raised. You are recognized.
Thank you, Christina. I don't want to move off unless we're finished with the code language, because what I've got is not related to that. So I'll wait until we finish with this document, unless we are finished with it.
I think unless there are any other hands up or any other comments regarding this language, I think we are finished with it, with the change to the language that we implemented.
Chair Rucker, if we are finished with the document and everyone is comfortable with the edits as they state right now, then we would like to entertain a motion to approve the report.
Okay, Christina, if Mark Young again, if we're going to approve the full report, I may have a question, but I just don't have anything related to the code language that we've been talking about.
Please go ahead with your question then, Mark.
Okay, a couple of things. So this report that we're looking at on screen right now, let's see, the 14-page report. Is this the only report that's going to be submitted? And my question, reason I asked this question is, I know Mr. Chapman did some work on the review of Metro's Injured on Duty program, and there's some pages related to that. But also, I know it's noted on the document that this was part of public record, but not adopted by the body. So I guess my question is, what's this document, these forms, what's their place going forward? If they're going forward, I would like to offer up some amendments to the document, but if they're not going forward, we'll leave it alone. I just want to know what the status is, I guess.
Hi, this is Chair Rucker. My understanding was that what we have, that the documents that were put together by Mr. Chapman were not going forward with the report or so. And I don't know if there was any other questions or if that has changed, but at the last session and during the last meeting, we made that determination that we would not move the document forward. Any other committee
Chair
members?
Rucker, that is correct. This document, as it is in its entirety with the 4 actuarial pieces from Finley, as well as the addendum, would be what is submitted to the benefit board. It does say in this report, I believe it's in the beginning, that there are supporting documents. And I believe those documents that were so generously made by Mr. Chapman were consensusly, they were the committee last meeting decided not to include that in this report, but they are available publicly on the Study and Formulating Committee website, which that link is noted in this report. So those documents are available in a public format. The committee just chose not to put those formally into this report. Also, just as a side note, just wanted, as I'm in real time, did add a percentage sign on this page as well behind the 0.3 and the 0.5. So I just wanted for transparency to let everyone know that I did just do that as well. Sorry to go off topic, but I wanted to make sure I let everyone know of that change.
Okay, so Christina, Mark Young again. So I'm understanding that they're available for public record considerations, but they will not be moving forward in the report to the benefit board and onto the council, I guess. Is that right?
Correct. They will not be part of the formal final report, but the link to view them is.
Okay. Then my only other question is on the section that talks about the Medicare Advantage proposal. We do support that. However, I gave a report on this to our membership this past Monday night. And I only had one question that came out of the meeting, and that question was from a retiree that is not on Humana presently. And what I understood him tell me was the reason he's not on Humana is because he has a prescription medication that his understanding was that Humana did not cover. And he wanted to know going forward if that was the case, would someone in that situation need to move on to Humana, or would that be looked at on a case-by-case basis? Thank you.
Mr. Young, I want to thank you for your tireless input through this process, and you have served labor so well with your comments and your concerns. I find your question very interesting because it was only this week that I saw a sign posted at a medical profession office that stated, if you are changing to Medicare Advantage, be aware they have a step-up approach with regard to medications, and you may have to use a less aggressive medication before obtaining approval for the more aggressive medication. And when I read that, I thought about this very recommendation. While I still adamantly support this recommendation, I think it is very important as this continues to proceed through the process after the recommendation comes out of this committee, that those type of concerns be fully vetted. Because as you know, there were many questions about whether or not this change to a Medicare Advantage only plan would negatively affect the health care available to retirees. And I just think that is something that will have to continue to be vetted, and I have no doubt labor will come to the table to help with that process. So thank you for raising the issue. I'm glad to know you're thinking of it, but at this time, I'm not seeing that there is a recommendation to be included or changed in this report.
Okay, thank you, Kim. And I guess we will flush this out at the next step. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome to refer to this conversation if you would like.
Thank you, Kim, and thank you, Mark. Director Shannon Hall, you have your hand raised. You are recognized.
Thank you, Christina. This is Shannon Hall. Mark, absolutely, and Ms. Stagg, these are the kinds of details that absolutely get flushed out heavily in front of the Employee Benefit Board. Just as a reminder, we have to procure our plans at least once every 5 years. So often we will switch plan or plan administrators, and they have different formularies. So disruption on formularies, disruption on doctors, all of those are hearty considerations as part of all that process on any of our medical plan design changes. And I know Mark works closely with our board. We're going to have a lot of those hearty discussions because there'll always be disruption whenever you switch from one, and mitigating and making that as small as possible is always the goal. So absolutely heavy, hearty discussion about any disruption, drug or otherwise, that will occur at the benefit board, and that is the right place for all of that discussion to occur.
Thank you, Director Hall. Legal Advisor Nikki Ecke, you are recognized.
Thank you. Just a minor suggestion. Could we go back to page 9?
Absolutely.
Thank you. In the third sentence, is it okay to add where it says if OOP out-of-pocket max stays at 1,000/2,000 with co-pays going towards out-of-pocket? Can we just add max there, out-of-pocket max, to that OOP? If that's okay with.
Are there any objections by committee members?
Christine, you need to capitalize the M and max to match the beginning.
Thank you.
Sorry to be picky.
No, please do. That's what we're here for. And
Now's the time for picky.
yes, thank you very much. I appreciate it, Mr. Chapman. I'm just looking for any more hands raised at this point. If not, I'll turn it back over to Chair Rucker.
Well, if there are no other questions or comments, I move to adopt the final report as amended today as the final report for the Study and Formulating Committee.
Okay, that's a motion. Do we have a second to adopt the report?
This is Nick Brazel. I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Let's take a vote. Mr. Nick Brazel?
Aye.
Mr. Cleophas Rucker?
Aye.
Mr. Richard Chapman?
Aye.
And Ms. Kim Stagg?
Aye.
Report is approved. Are there any other questions, comments from anyone on the committee, anyone from staff, anyone from unions, or anyone else on the call? I do want to thank you all again for making this process much easier and much more seamless than it could have been being in this virtual world as our first virtual Study and Formulating Committee. If there's no more business, I would say we can adjourn, Chair Rucker.
Great. Well, I definitely say we move to adjourn. Thank you all. Thank you for the work that you've all done. You've really contributed to some, great things for the employees of Metro, and I really do appreciate the work that labor has done in this as well. Your presence and your insight has been great. So I just want to thank you all, as well as the committee members. It's been great to work with you and to hear the insight and the thoughtfulness that you've brought to every item. So thank you all.
And thank you, Chair Rucker, for stepping up to be the chair. I know we lost our chairperson in the middle of the Study and Formulating Committee. So I just wanted to let you know that. We will be circulating an email that will have a DocuSign component on it for all the committee members to sign. So just please be on the lookout for that, and it will be the report in its entirety with all of these changes, with the actuarial Finley reports and the addendum attached. So thank you all again. I appreciate you all.
Great. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Mr. Rucker, thank you for your leadership.
You're welcome. Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody, for working on this.
Yes.
Thank you.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.org.